Hey, Sean here from speedcubeview.com. I see very often people asking, what is X-Cross? How do I do extended cross? How do I solve that? How does Felix do it? Things like that. So I'm going to talk about a few thoughts with it, how to be more efficient at it, and yeah, I'm just going to go through a few examples. This is a little bit more of a haphazard video. I don't have a planned script or anything. I just decided to talk about this right now. So first, what is X-Cross? X-Cross is making a cross, but also having one F2L pair solved, or at least one. You could have a double X-Cross and have two pairs solved. The big thing to note about this is it's often not the best thing to do. Even Felix does not do an X-Cross most of the time. And even when he does, it's not often a faster solve. I have the video where I go through Felix's average of 5 world record. This is the old world record. And one or two of the solves he did in X-Cross, and one of them I think was his slowest or one of his slowest solves. So just note that doing it is not meaning that it's going to be faster. So how do you plan it? Now, there's not one specific algorithm or thing to do. Just like making the cross, there's not one set way to do it every single time. And all it is instead of planning 4 pieces, you're planning 6. Now, I made a video before talking about how there was an X-Cross that Felix did, but what I would have done is just sort of saved the pair and then inserted it at the end. And when you have a pair, that's going to make it the easiest. Now, one thing that's also going to make it easier is solving cross on all 6 sides, because that means you have many more options to find pairs like that. Now, this was a solve I did recently, and actually it was the one that I posted in the video about adding a timer to your solve. And what I made was an X-Cross, kind of. I'm going to call that a pseudo X-Cross. So with that pair right there, I wanted to insert it, as soon as I could instead of just making the cross. And so I put that green edge down here and the orange edge over, but before I finished with the orange edge, did a U2 and moved that down. And then I finished with that blue edge. So I had part of that cross already made. Now these were opposite, and at the end of the solve, I did that to fix it, but that sort of, I guess, would be a pseudo X-Cross. But what I want to show with that is that if you already have a pair made, you can often figure out what cross you want to do if you're color neutral, based on seeing that pair, so you can easily insert it or at least just track it for that first pair. That doesn't always happen, and that's probably one of the more rare cases, and if you do have a pair made, often just doing the cross and preserving that pair will be easier to do than trying to figure out how to insert it while making the cross. So I just hand scrambled this, and I already have this paired up. Well, that gives us multiple options, because you can just save this as a pair to insert, or if this is one of the cross edges, this could be a corner. And you could either have blue as a cross or red as the cross. So it gives you a couple options. So what I could do, if I make red this cross, I want to put the other red edge right here, and then also get the blue and white edge all set there. There's different ways of doing this, and what I could do just seeing these pieces is insert that red like that, and then insert that edge piece there. So that way when I move this over, that's solved. And then I can actually just finish the cross like that. So if your corner's already there connected to one of the cross edges, you just have to figure out how to get that final edge in. And there's no set method, there's no set algorithm to do. But if I hand scramble this again, I'll look for that same thing. Okay, so I've just hand scrambled it, and we do have a pair here. Now, we could just insert the orange cross pieces and insert that as a pair at the end, or we can use that as a corner for the yellow cross or the blue cross. So I want to preserve that piece. So what I can do right now is just move this out of the way and put green down, move green over, put orange down and blue down, and then that's already paired up, and then we can move red down. But before we do that, let's insert this final edge piece. And as long as this is not aligned, we can just insert that edge piece right there, align it, and move red down. So that's the case if you have the corner already set. But another thing you can look for is an edge already set. So for example, if you have something that is like, well, that's actually a bad example because we already have a block made. Actually, well, let's use this for an example now instead of the edge. We'll go back to that one in just a second. Like I said, this is kind of just haphazard. So with this block being made, we have multiple options. We could use this as the cross pieces, and then just when we align it, insert that and line that up. Or what we can do is use this as a pair. So if, let's say, we're doing white for the cross, if we can get green right here and do something like, when we move red down, that pair is already set. So we're kind of preserving this pair. And then you can do the same thing, I guess, for green cross too. Just preserve that pair there. So that's a really nice one. If you have that block already made, that you can use that as a pair here, or as the corner already in place and just insert that edge. That gives you the most options. It's a lot to think about during inspection, and if you're trying to practice doing an X-cross, don't time your inspections. When I was learning to be color neutral, I didn't time my inspections, and if I had a good cross like that, or a good way to make an X-cross, I would just take a couple minutes to plan out different ones and figure out what would work. That way in time I can lower that inspection down instead of just hoping to get it within 15 seconds. Okay, so here's something right here. Let's say we already have a cross almost finished. We have that piece to go down, but we can see we already have an edge in place here. Now you can just move that down and set it up, but that's not going to be an X-cross then. So what we can do is find where that corner is. Where's that corner? It's back here. Ooh, this actually works. This can work really well. So after we move this red down, we want to keep that corner where it is. So as long as that's still right there, and I'm sure there's better ways of doing this, maybe we could do something like that. Or we could even do something like that to keep that in place. So then when I do the D2, that's going to make the X-cross in the back. Now also looking at this, that orange and blue edge is in place, so we could even do this and have a double X-cross. So what I did was, that corner was right there, so before I did a D2, I just did D prime, inserted that corner right here, and then D prime, and oh my god, they inserted that edge. So many good things. But that takes a lot of planning ahead. And as far as planning that full thing, I wouldn't be able to do it just by looking at it there. I do X-cross more often than I ever have before, and a lot of that's from just being color neutral. So actually, let's just pull up a solve. Let's just find a real scramble, and let's see if there's anything that stands out that we could use. Okay. We have a pair already, and we have white cross edges already set. Green wouldn't really, green could be okay for the cross. White could be okay. You know, I'm just going to preserve this pair. So this would be one that, for me, instead of trying to make an X-cross, I'm just going to preserve that pair and insert it at the end. So what I would do is solve this red and orange, and then resolve the blue and green, and now at the end, just reinsert. Now what's nice about that is I still had it planned from inspection, so I didn't have to think about it, and what I could do is start planning for other pieces. So think of it also as just a way to not have to look at those pieces and look farther ahead. So let's do another one. Okay, so let's do another scramble, and we have a pair already. So the couple things we can do with this. One, we could make this a pair and just solve the orange cross and insert this at the end. Another one is we could use this as a cross edge and this as a corner for the X-cross. And we could do blue or yellow. I think I like the looks of yellow a little bit more because we already have that one set. So we have to find and plan out 4 pieces and make sure we're preserving this. So besides this one, we're also finding the orange and yellow, red and yellow, then we need to find the blue and orange, which is right there. And then make sure we're preserving this one. So what I'm going to do is I want to make sure this is on, well, either it's going to have to be in place or I want it to be on the top layer. And this I think could be easier being put on the top layer. Yeah, I think that'll be easier putting on the top layer. So what I'm going to do is just move this orange out of the way and bring the red over here. So that way I can move orange down and put red down. Now what I'm going to do is do a D prime move. If I just left this up here and inserted this, whoop, like that would mess some things up. Plus we have to do a D move to insert that edge anyways, like it's a keyhole. But for here, move red down, move that pair down. So that made that block. And then I have this edge left, do a U2, insert, D. So now we have the X-Cross in the back right there. And like I said, that could be a lot of moves and not often faster. It might be a little more awkward to execute, and just watching a pair and inserting at the end might even be more efficient for some, if not faster. So I'll kind of leave this off with a little bit of a almost warning or caution with this. I see a lot of people when they want to learn about X-Cross and solving with it, I feel like much of the time people think that you have to do it to have fast solves, so people like Felix do it almost every single time, and that's not the case. And although we do have these pairs, we want to be able to utilize them. If you are doing a 15-second inspection, it might just be more beneficial to solve the cross and just think about that, and then worry about, if you know that where this corner is, that while you're solving the cross, while you're doing this, that maybe at least knowing that that piece is there, while you're solving it, you could say, oh, there's that edge, let me insert it, instead of trying to find all 6 pieces. And then that way you're not focusing on trying to solve that much at once, but just what's necessary. So I know this was a little bit vague because there's no one-set algorithm to do. There's different options when you have a pair. There's 3 ways of using it as long as you're color neutral. I think that's the biggest thing. If you're color neutral, it can solve the cross on any side. That's going to be the biggest factor. If you're trying to do an X-cross for white or whatever one color you use every single time, it's going to be more often a worse thing than just making the cross and going to your first pair. And then remember, the whole idea of planning a cross from inspection is that you don't look at your hands or the cross pieces and you can look for other pairs. When I was starting out and I was starting to do X crosses, I often felt like I still had to track those pieces to make sure I was doing it correctly. So if you're doing an X cross and planning 6 pieces from the start, you want to make sure you're not looking at those 6 pieces and you're looking at other parts of the puzzle and you have the whole thing memorized and can do it with your eyes closed. So thank you very much. Please leave your thoughts and questions in the comment section below. Hit like and subscribe for more content like this in the future. And as always, stop by speedcubeview.com for more news and reviews.